So far you've managed to download Xcode and we've had a good look around the interface and see how it all fits together. In the next couple of videos we're going to look at some interface elements and how we can add them to our apps. And we're going to start with labels in this video. So if you haven't already, clicked Main Storyboard. And that will give you something that looks a little bit like this, which is essentially a screen of your app. It's known as a view controller, and it controls the view, that is, the bit that the user sees. Now you can see this isn't quite the right size for an iPhone screen. You're now developing, of course, for a range of screen sizes. It used to be that there was just one or two iPhone screen sizes, but now there are all sorts. As we can see down here, we've got iPhone 6, 6 Plus, 5, and if you're still developing for the 4S as well. So that's 4 different screen sizes you need to be dealing with. So when you're working with an interface, I recommend that you keep the view controller like this, and then we're going to use the double circles to bring up our assistant editor, and then we're going to click the 4 squares there and click recent files, and then we're going to click automatic and preview and main storyboard preview. And that will then allow us to preview what our app will actually look like on a number of different iPhone screen sizes. And you can see at the moment we're previewing for an iPhone 4-inch. I can also twist that round, and so that we can look at a landscape option as well. And I'll just get rid of those two side by side. So when you're developing your app's layout and design, this is how I'd recommend you do it. Have the view controller or the main storyboard on one side, and then have a preview of what it actually looks like on the other side. And then you can do things like flipping from portrait to landscape or the other way round, and make sure that your app still looks good whichever way round your user is holding your phone. But layout considerations really will come in more detail later on. For the moment, we're going to look at just adding some labels, which is a way of adding text to your app. It's actually pretty straightforward. We go over to our right pane here. If you haven't got it, remember you need to click the link at the top, and then make sure you click in the circle and square icon, which will give you the list of objects that you can add. You can scroll down and have a little look if you like. There's loads of them. But the quick way to get to the one that you want is to just start typing it in. So if we want to add a label, we just type in and then we get a nice search field there. Now I'm going to try and drag it in. I might need to be a bit more zoomed in. I think I do. So I'm going to zoom in more on my view controller. And then I'm going to add my label. There we go. And you can see that now we've got some text, and that's where it is on the app itself. If you want to change the text, very simple. Just double click on it and retype your text there. You can, of course, drag it around as well. Like that. And on the context menu over here, you can change a lot of things about the text. So this is where I encourage you to get a little bit creative and try some things out. So we can change the color to anything we like. Let's have some nice bright green text. Wonderful. You can change the opacity, which is a measure of how visible the label is or how transparent it is. So you can go down to 0 and then you'll barely be able to see it at all, or up to 100% and then it will be fully clear. You can change the font. So you can use the standard fonts. So just bold, italic, etc. Or one of those, the text styles. If you want to use your own font, then you click custom, and then you can use any one of the fonts that come with your Mac. So I'll leave it at that. And you can, of course, change the font size as well, just by clicking the up and down buttons there. Let's bring it in. It's a bit more centered. You can align the text within the box, so centered or right. The number of lines by default is 1, and labels are generally designed to have just one line of text, but you can increase that to more than one line if you want to. There are a number of different other options there that I'm not going to go into in great detail. Most of them are fairly self-explanatory. You've got the alpha again, which is a measure of transparency, background, etc., and you can stretch it out a bit if you want. So I'd recommend spending a little bit of time just adding a couple of labels and playing around with the text and seeing what these options do. And generally that's a really good way to go through the course as well. Don't just watch the videos that I give you, but be creative, spend a bit of time experimenting and find out what happens. You'll learn a lot more that way. Okay, in the next video we'll look at buttons and text fields. Great, so that's labels. In the next video we'll look at buttons and text fields.